John Bead, distributor of over 50,000 beads, crystals, and components, and direct importer of the complete line of Preciosa crystal, Miyuki Delica and seed beads, and Preciosa Ornella Czech glass beads and charlottes. JohnBead.com.
Mary Hetmansberger is here with us today to show us how to make a wire-netted Czech crystal pendant. Thanks for coming, Mary.
Well, thank you for having me.
A really great place to start with color is Czech crystal because there are so many choices.
I love the color choices, and I also love the shape of these pendants.
You could really use any color palette to create what you've done, but I love that the way that the facets really reflect that metallic wire, and you could even use colored wire if you wanted to.
Yeah, you can, and a lot of the craft wires are really great for this right now.
And with this type of teardrop pendant, the way that you're wrapping the stitches around, really what other choice would there be, right?
Well, what's nice is that I need leverage. I need to have something I can pull on.
So the point at the top?
The point at the top is a great place to start.
Right.
So I'm going to show you how we get started. Actually, there's a hole right in the center of this, or at the top. And what I do, the way I attach my frame, this is actually a technique. If you want to, it's a kind of across the board in fiber world. It's either a half hitch or a blanket
I'm familiar
stitch.
With half hitch from macrame.
Yeah, or blanket stitch, or I'm going to call it knotless netting or looping.
Okay.
And what you have to have is a frame. So I'm going to create this frame.
And tell us about the wire gauge.
This is 26 gauge, and I found across the board this is the best wire gauge.
So regardless of the size of pendant you're using, the 26 is going to work for this
well,
stitch.
it's big enough to be seen. If you get any smaller, it kind of loses it. And also, it's just real flexible, and it doesn't get kinked. So I've got about a 4 to 5 inch tail here, and I'm going to thread this back through this hole. And what I'm going to do is create like a figure 8. And if you'll notice, this is not like dead tied up against here.
You're leaving a little bit
of leeway so that when I do that first row, it's not going to be too crazy. And I'm making this like this, and then I'm going to begin.
So you bent it down a little bit on the sides,
I did, bend it down the sides. Now, as far as this back here, I can either cut this off later, or I can actually go around twice if I want a heavier looking frame.
Okay.
But to get started, I'm going to show you, we take that exact same end, and I'm going to come in, whoops, excuse me. This is about a 5-foot length also.
Okay.
And basically, I'm holding this wire down, and I'm jumping over the wire, and then I'm also coming over the left side of the loop. And you want to pull, and you want to try not to get it kinked because that's where you run into problems. But you want to make nice big loops and pull and then anchor down.
Okay, so I see you're making your loop.
You're actually
around
making
the base
two
wire.
loops. You're making a loop by pulling it, and then your anchor loop is a little bitty small loop. So I'm going to jump over.
So if you think of this as blanket stitch with thread, you're always picking up next to your original loop, is that right?
Sort of. You're actually, if you can see this big loop here, then when you pull, I want to pull down to make it tight.
Okay.
So there's actually 2 loops being created, the first one and then the second. Moving along a little bit, just to show you how it looks as you move, as you go further on. This is the second row. So the first row I've done. Now, when you start getting into the second row, I see how this little connection is here? I actually go right where that little connection is because you need an area to stitch under.
To pull against.
And I'm actually pulling it at like the 8 o'clock position here.
To keep your wire from kinking. I noticed you're working with the natural curve of the wire.
And I'm also pulling at the 8 o'clock to create the first loop, and then I pull down at 5 o'clock and anchor hard to get the second loop.
I see.
So this is actually, like I said, the looping technique. What you can also do is you can also do the, here we go, the Viking knit, which is real similar, but the difference in the Viking knit is instead of going next to this like right in here, you're actually going behind the whole connection of the loop.
Oh, so that's what makes it stand up.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And it also, what it does is it really completely lines up your knots then. See how the knots are lined up?
Let's take a look at this one here because you can really see the difference between...
Exactly. And this is where, you've got you put the connection in the middle of the big loop, whereas these are all lined up.
So you're working your way down.
Right. Now this little finish here is kind of fun. I just take 18 gauge copper coated wire and I hammer the ends and then turn around and connect it from the side. So I'll come in like this. And this is just a matter of sewing it on.
Outside.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
I'm literally just going to sew this on and connect it onto the stitching that's already there.
So you just want to make sure that this is anchored all the way around.
All the way around. And I wrap it in between, give it some interesting look. See how I've got the wraps here.
And then I see you some washers here to connect it at the top.
You can either put them on, as you're doing it, or you can come in afterwards. This is a real simple 26 gauge wire where I just made the
How do you decide when, like on this piece right here, how do you decide when this is finished? As you're working your way down?
Well, as you notice, I kind of get bigger. So I actually can get it a little bit more random. Like this one's pretty perfect. This one got a little bit more random. You can also change the size of the loops, so you end up with real skinny loops down in this area. This area gets real big. The cool thing about these Czech crystals is so awesome is you can actually see the stitching on the back side too. So when you hold them up, you can see both sides, which I just love.
On this one, where is the end? Is it
the
here?
end is right down in here, and all you do, it's so easy, is you just wrap it around twice and cut it with real close snips. Yep.
Oh, okay. So you've created your whole net the length of the pendant, and then when you're ready to finish, you're just basically binding that last wire
together. And the
together.
5 feet will get you pretty much to the end.
Okay.
If you have a break, you just add on the same way. You just tie it really tight with the wire. Just
if you needed to add more?
If you had a breakage or something.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Mary. This was really great.
Thanks so much.
All right. Well, thank you for watching. And in a natural progression, we're going to move from design inspiration from color. On our next episode, we'll talk about design inspiration from works of art. I hope you'll join us.
John Bead, distributor of over 50,000 beads, crystals, and components, and direct importer of the complete line of Preciosa crystal, Mayuki Delica and seed beads, and Preciosa Ornella Czech glass beads and charlottes. JohnBead.com.